Tomorrow is Super Tuesday, and by Tuesday evening or Wednesday morning, we should have a little more clarity about who the frontrunner for the Democratic nomination is. Over the weekend, as expected, Joe Biden did win the South Carolina primary, but in a state dominated by more moderate voters and a state that's not very likely to be in play for the Democrats in the general election, his success should not come as a surprise. We also saw Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar leave the race, and many of the states on Tuesday will also have former New York City Michael Bloomberg on the ballot. Now, it seems to me that the Democratic National Committee does want a brokered convention. They're probably going to want to keep Elizabeth Warren in the race as long as possible to siphon progressive votes from Bernie Sanders. The idea is to have a four-candidate race where either a deal could be reached or the superdelegates can decide the candidate. This is going to create a problem because I could see either Bernie Sanders supporters, much like they did in 2016, sitting out, or if Bernie and his supporters can make up enough votes to have a majority in the going into Milwaukee's convention, then the Biden supporters would sit out. In a sense, it's either Bernie or bust or Biden or bust. But what if, much like in 2016, one side busts? And we now have a second Trump term. The main concern I could see is the courts. As some of you may have seen on Wednesday, a case that could allow for Roe v. Wade to be at least functionally overturned will be presented to the courts. If the down ballot results undo some of the gains from the 2018 election, we could see a hand for Trump and a rejuvenated GOP to continue to mount attacks on their perceived enemies: women, refugees, people of color, etc. So then the bigger question is, of the Biden supporters or the Bernie supporters, who would be less likely to take to the streets and the communities that will be affected by Trump's policies? Bernie supporters have shown their reluctance time and time again. Their appearances at immigrants rallies, at trans rallies, even at rallies relating to women's issues has been less than spectacular, in my opinion. Biden supporters may show up, but the meme of the woman saying, "If Hillary had won, I would be at brunch now," may be truer than a lot of folks would like to admit. The issue is that both sides may be less likely to want to get involved with African Americans, refugees, etc., for much the same reason: privilege. Biden's supporters are likely older. Many of them probably have families, children, and stable jobs. They can't afford to be engaging in direct action, or they are afraid of being seen engaging in direct actions. Many Bernie supporters, being millennials, are also people that may not be affected as much by Trump's policies. They may not have to worry about being deported, harassed by the police. Their parents will be able to provide them, their girlfriend, their wife, their partner, an abortion if necessary. What's odd is that both the Biden and the Bernie supporters have expressed admiration for the mass movements in places like Hong Kong, Paris, and Puerto Rico. What neither one of them seems to understand is that they may end up creating an environment where such mass actions are necessary here in the US.